Let's talk about inflammation, because it's one of those biological processes that's absolutely essential for survival, but can turn against us under the wrong circumstances. When you get a sunburn, your body immediately kicks inflammation into high gear. This is supposed to be protective. Your immune system is rushing to the damaged area, trying to clean up cellular debris, fight off any potential infections, and signal your cells to start repairing. This is inflammation doing exactly what it evolved to do. But here's where things get complicated and, frankly, quite concerning. Inflammation is meant to be a temporary response. It comes in, does its job, and then subsides. The problem with repeated sun exposure and frequent sunburns is that you're essentially keeping your skin in a state of chronic inflammation. Instead of a quick rescue operation, it becomes a permanent emergency response, and that changes everything. When inflammation becomes chronic, the chemical environment inside your tissues fundamentally shifts. Your immune cells start producing different signals, different molecules, and some of these actually encourage cells to survive when they shouldn't. Think about it this way. Normally, if a cell sustains significant damage, it has built-in programs that tell it to die. This is a safety mechanism. But in a chronically inflamed environment, some of those death signals get suppressed. Damaged cells that should be eliminated are instead getting survival signals from the inflammatory response. What's even more troubling is that chronic inflammation doesn't just help damaged cells survive, it can actually promote their growth. There are growth factors and signaling molecules released during inflammation that tell cells to divide and multiply. Again, this makes sense in the context of normal healing. But when you're dealing with cells that already have UV-induced DNA damage, and then you're bathing them in signals that say multiply and survive, you can see how this becomes a recipe for disaster. The research here is pretty clear, and it's not encouraging. Studies have shown that people with a history of repeated sunburns have measurably higher levels of inflammatory markers in their skin, even years later. Their skin exists in a different baseline state compared to people who've protected themselves from excessive UV exposure. And this inflammatory state correlates strongly with increased skin cancer risk. Now, here's a slightly more optimistic angle. Understanding this inflammation connection has opened up potential intervention points. Some researchers are investigating whether anti-inflammatory treatments, when applied soon after UV exposure, might help reduce long-term cancer risk. It's early days for this research, but it suggests that even if you've made mistakes with sun protection in the past, there might be ways to mitigate some of the damage. But prevention, of course, remains far better than any attempted cure.